The blurred lines separating corporate hip-hop enterprises, underground street networks, and internet culture completely dissolved during Kendrick Lamar's high-profile concert series. Behind the scenes of this massive musical event, an intense quiet conflict erupted that exposed the dangerous realities of the modern entertainment business.
Mad cow, rabies-infested, day-free, come through after I see some guy with like a blue hat looking like he was like, acting like he was looking for me. They pull up. The person who's our sweet host, they're confused. They're looking at these guys. It's their concert. Remember, I went to their concert. They ain't coming in. They're looking at these guys. They have these all-access passes on. But, of course, it's like, well, they paid for the suite. Like, you know, still we get us all access, but doesn't mean you just run through everybody's suite. My security is dealing with it. They're like, yo, okay, yo, blah, blah, blah. Day free, I get to see him at some point. He says, yo, do you want to, come talk to me. At first, I was like, listen, you could come talk to me in the suite. Leave all them little Crip blood niggas outside. You and me could talk in the suite. I don't care. He insists that we talk outside, and actually the person for the suite didn't want it. They just came with so much energy. I said, fine, I'll go out the suite and talk to you. Security kind of have a face-off. My security's looking at them like, what's up, what we gonna do? Their security's like, what's up, what we gonna do? Obviously, nobody's security would do anything unless I say something or Day Free says something. And we get into this conversation. It's a little bit tense, but it's also a real conversation. Day Free basically tells me a few things. Day Free is emotional, by the way. He tells me that he has all these issues about things and the battle going too far. So what do you mean the battle is going too far? Now, keep in mind, Kendrick has a hit song. I went to go see him perform the hit song. The battle, right? So this battle that we're talking about, Kendrick calls Drake a pedophile. Day Free is approaching me saying, this is going too far. Why is it going too far? He's saying that, yo, people are playing with people's kids. Yo, they talking about...
DJ Akademiks, a prominent digital media figure and hip-hop commentator, found himself in a tense standoff with key members of Top Dog Entertainment, TDE, and pgLang inside a private luxury suite. The confrontation was not a typical music industry disagreement. It was a serious display of corporate and street power aimed at shutting down an online narrative that had grown out of control. Akademiks detailed the encounter on his streaming platform, revealing a narrative that goes far beyond standard music industry gossip. While the general public watched the historic lyrical battle between Kendrick Lamar and Drake play out across streaming platforms, a far more serious operation was taking place behind closed doors. According to Akademiks, high-ranking executives and security teams from the West Coast camp confronted him directly in an effort to silence his media outlets. In doing so, they allegedly issued a credible, calculated threat against the life of a prominent internet blogger known as Grand Wizard Chat Ninja, the primary coordinator behind the highly influential Academiks TV social media accounts. The situation unfolded when Akademiks attended the concert at a major arena in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. Because he was live streaming his attendance to hundreds of thousands of concurrent viewers, his exact location inside the venue was instantly broadcast to the public. This allowed TDE executives, including Kendrick Lamar's longtime creative partner Day Free and coordinator Anthony Sala, to pinpoint his location accompanied by a large security detail and an individual tasked with recording the entire interaction on video.
Day Free because of that. Now, if anybody knew at the time, my Academiks TV was also, you know, I think they were clowning SZA too. I think he's the manager of SZA. No, that's Punch. We didn't see Punch. I thought he was going to at least at some point mention SZA to me. He never did. Also, why is SZA important? Because back on Everyday Struggle, when I first ever met SZA and SZA got mad at me, the original story, Day Free is the person who said, I get what you're saying. Yo, she's sensitive. Could you apologize to her, or at least like retract that you don't hate her on the platform that you did it on? Could you at least say on stream you don't hate her? And I agreed, because I was like, wait, she took my stream and thought that I hate her? Whatever. So I thought he was going to talk about some SZA stuff. He didn't. In fact, his whole thing was about people, like, I guess the internet crowd was starting to look into that maybe Kendrick's kids wasn't his. And I guess that was some hurt behind it, because now the family has to deal with that.
Gamp entered Akademiks' privately rented luxury suite. The presence of a camera operator made it clear that this was a planned, deliberate operation meant to document the interaction and establish absolute leverage. The sudden arrival of the West Coast contingent quickly disrupted the hospitality staff and private security team managing the luxury suite. While all access passes grant individuals freedom of movement within the venue's backstage areas, they do not authorize anyone to enter a privately leased corporate box. Akademiks' personal security guards immediately stepped in, creating a tense physical standoff in the doorway. The two security details faced each other down, waiting for a signal from their respective principals that could instantly turn the verbal disagreement into a violent physical altercation. Akademiks described the leader of the group, Dave Free, as being in a highly emotional, aggressive state. Instead of speaking inside the suite away from onlookers, Free insisted that Akademiks step out into the crowded public concourse to talk. Recognizing that the venue staff was growing increasingly panicked by the aggressive energy, Akademiks agreed to step outside to de-escalate the situation. The resulting conversation exposed the deep psychological toll that the high-stakes rap feud had taken on the individuals behind the scenes.
Says, well, you got to realize it's gotten to that point where we don't know what to do. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we know who's the person who's posting on your page. I said, what? He says, yes, Academiks TV, we know who's posting on it. He says, I'm here having a conversation with you, hoping you could change something. Anthony Silla, when he listens to this, he knows I'm not a liar because I don't have to lie. He says, I hope you could change something. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we've paid for a private investigator to go look for this guy in another country. We know his name. We know how he looks. We know everything about him. It's nothing for us to put money to get him handled. That's what they tell me. So they told me they have identified the person who's running my page. And they said, we've gotten investigators and it's nothing to have this person handled. And I said, listen, calm it down. We've gotten investigators and it's nothing to have this person handled. And I said, listen.
Dave Free is not a rapper, nor has he ever been a public-facing recording artist. He has spent his career operating as a private director, visual strategist, and business executive. However, the intense nature of the feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake thrust him directly into the public eye. During the lyrical back and forth, Drake levels serious allegations against Free, implying a personal entanglement with Kendrick Lamar's longtime partner, Whitney Alford. Almost overnight, an executive who had spent decades maintaining a low profile became the target of intense internet scrutiny, with millions of fans dissecting his personal life, analyzing his family photos, and flooding his digital spaces with hostile messages. During their tense conversation on the arena concourse, Dave Free complained bitterly that the rap feud had gone too far. He expressed deep frustration over internet users targeting his children and family, noting that hundreds of thousands of people were now actively mocking his personal life online. Free blamed Akademiks media network for amplifying these narratives, specifically pointing to posts that questioned the parentage of Kendrick Lamar's children. Akademiks, however, pushed back against this reasoning. He argued that if Free was looking for someone to blame for the collapse of his privacy, he needed to look closer to home. It was Kendrick Lamar who initiated the aggressive phase of the feud with his verse on the song Like That, deliberately inviting the chaos that followed. Your man was the one who wanted this rap beef badly. Akademiks countered. He finally got the rap beef and things got destroyed. Don't blame your opponents, blame your man for leading you into the fire. According to industry sources, Kendrick Lamar had been holding onto the musical ammunition used in the feud for quite some time. Akademiks asserted as a well-known industry fact that Lamar had developed the core concepts, if not the exact recordings of his successful diss tracks, as early as 2022 or 2023. The entire West Coast camp had been preparing for this conflict for years. Therefore, Akademiks found it deeply hypocritical for them to express shock and outrage when the opposition responded by attacking their personal lives and internal relationships to understand why a major music entity would deploy top executives to confront a media commentator at a concert. One must examine the structure of modern digital media. The conflict centered around the social media platform Academiks TV on X, formerly Twitter. While DJ Akademiks owns the platform and profits from its massive reach, he does not personally manage its day-to-day operations or publish individual posts. The page is run by a distributed network of independent bloggers and content managers who utilize aggressive tactics to drive engagement. Among these managers, the most prominent and controversial figure is an anonymous overseas blogger known as Grand Wizard Chat Ninja. Operating with complete digital anonymity, Grand Wizard has spent months posting memes, unverified rumors, and critical commentary targeting TDE, pgLang, and Kendrick Lamar's inner circle. To the West Coast executives, the distinction between DJ Akademiks and his employees did not matter. They viewed the platform as a coordinated weapon aimed at destroying their corporate and personal reputations, and they arrived at the arena determined to shut it down completely. The primary objective of the confrontation was to deliver a direct ultimatum. Akademiks had to immediately terminate the Academiks TV operations and stop all coverage of Lamar's family, or the camp would take matters into their own hands. When Akademiks made it clear that he would not alter his business model or allow an outside entity to dictate his editorial coverage, the tone of the meeting shifted from a tense professional dispute to a dangerous, explicit threat of violence. The most disturbing revelation from the encounter came when executive Anthony Saleh intervened in the conversation. Saleh allegedly looked Akademiks in the eye and revealed that the camp had already bypassed legal and digital channels to deal with the anonymous blogger. He claimed they had hired an international team of private investigators to track Grand Wizard Chat Ninja to his physical location in Australia. Saleh explained that they had successfully uncovered the blogger's legal name, taken photographs of his face, mapped out his daily routine, and located his exact place of residence. He then issued a direct, chilling warning to Akademiks. "We know who is posting on your page. We paid for a private investigator to go look for this guy in another country. It is nothing for us to put money up to get him handled. If you don't step in and stop it, we will." This revelation highlights a dangerous trend within the modern music industry: the use of substantial corporate wealth to fund extra legal intimidation tactics. Akademiks heavily criticized this behavior on his stream, noting that when individuals from street backgrounds achieve sudden financial success, they often believe their money grants them total immunity from the law. The idea that a group of music executives could hire private intelligence assets to stalk a foreign citizen in Australia and then openly threaten his life on camera.
If I told you somebody has your social security number and you're like, who? And I show you proof that they do have your social security, you said, bro, who has it? Who sent this to you? And I just said, yeah, I don't know. What would you think? I've always liked Charlamagne. I've always looked up to him. So when they came to me with that, I asked Charlamagne, not only did I show him the info, I gave him the info, I sent him, I went to the email, told him the email address where I got it from. I never communicated with the people trying to plot against him. I never tried to halfway plot, none of that. Hey, this is what I got. Please just take it. You know, it's no good. I say that to Joe. I said that to Charlamagne. I said, this info here, I know it's bad. It's of bad faith. It has no place on my platform. It has no place. I'm really confused because the one operative question is, if you're quoting all this information, how don't you know where it's from? Also, there's a tape, or there's a audio of Charlamagne saying months ago, yeah, all this stuff is going to get found out. This seems to be exactly what you were talking about. So you have a little bit more insight than just, oh, I just randomly opened up an email. So I don't know how much you're looking out for someone if you're also protecting a source.
Shows a complete disregard for international law and state sovereignty. Akademiks publicly dismissed the threat as an empty attempt at intimidation, reminding his audience that the entire interaction was recorded by TDE's own camera operator. By documenting their own explicit threats on video, the executives inadvertently created a clear evidence trail that could easily be used against them in a criminal investigation. Furthermore, Akademiks emphasized that the blogger's commentary was entirely protected under the free speech laws of his home country. If the camp believed they were victims of unlawful defamation, their proper recourse was through a civil court of law, not international stalking and threats of violence. The fallout from this confrontation quickly spread across the hip-hop media landscape, exposing deep fractures between some of its most prominent figures. The situation grew even more complicated when Akademiks received a private phone call from veteran radio host Charlamagne THD God. Charlamagne reached out to warn Akademiks that powerful corporate entities were actively conducting a deep investigation into his personal life, finances, and digital operations. While Akademiks initially appreciated the warning, the conversation quickly turned sour when he pressed Charlamagne for specifics. Akademiks repeatedly asked for the names of the individuals funding the investigation, the specific groups involved, and the source of the leaked information. Charlamagne, however, firmly refused to name his sources, choosing instead to protect his corporate connections. This refusal deeply hurt Akademiks, who viewed it as a major betrayal of their professional relationship. He pointed out a glaring double standard in how they treated each other. In the past, whenever Akademiks came across sensitive information or damaging leaks targeting Charlamagne, he immediately handed over everything he had. He would send the exact email addresses, identify the corporate entities plotting behind the scenes, and expose the sources of malice without hesitation. By contrast, Charlamagne chose to offer a vague, ominous warning while actively shielding the identities of the people targeting Akademiks. This dynamic made it clear that Charlamagne was operating with more inside knowledge than he let on. On his podcast, Brilliant Idiots, Charlamagne has spent weeks dropping cryptic hints about major shifts coming to the industry, specifically mentioning how corporate public relations teams were investigating independent Twitter pages that spread negative narrative. For Akademiks, this proved that his supposed peer was fully aware of the corporate trap being set for his network, yet chose to protect his industry relationships rather than look out for a colleague. This realization marked the end of an era of mutual trust among top hip-hop commentators, showing that when major corporate interests get involved, personal loyalty quickly disappears. The systematic intimidation faced by independent media figures like DJ Akademiks and Grand Wizard Chat Ninja is part of a broader, well-documented playbook used by major entertainment conglomerates to maintain absolute control over public narratives. For decades, the public has been led to believe that mainstream success is purely a reflection of talent, dedication, and organic fan support. However, behind the carefully managed public images lies a highly defensive corporate apparatus designed to enforce compliance and crush any independent voice that challenges its preferred narratives. When an independent media outlet achieves enough cultural influence to sway public opinion during a multi-million-dollar corporate campaign, such as a high-stakes rap feud involving flagship artists, the traditional mechanisms of public relations are often replaced by aggressive intimidation. If an independent blogger cannot be bought, co-opted, or controlled through standard corporate partnerships, the system quickly pivots to more hostile tactics. This includes deploying corporate lawyers, retaining international private intelligence firms, and leveraging deep connections within law enforcement to neutralize the perceived threat. The ultimate goal of these operations is to force independent commentators into a state of psychological paralysis, making the cost of speaking the truth too high to bear. By tracking anonymous figures across international borders and delivering explicit threats of physical violence in private spaces, these entities send a clear message to the entire media landscape. Any platform that disrupts their corporate interests will be targeted for destruction. Despite the immense corporate pressure, the coordinated actions of independent commentators have permanently altered the dynamics of cultural media. The era when a handful of powerful executives could quietly control public perception from behind closed doors is officially over. The widespread availability of digital platforms and decentralized media networks has given independent voices the leverage needed to resist corporate coercion. By documenting these backroom confrontations and exposing the industry's tactics to millions of viewers in real time, independent commentators have successfully neutralized the power of corporate blackmail. When an asset like an unedited video recording or a detailed breakdown of a private threat is shared directly with the public, it strips the corporate apparatus of its most effective weapon: secrecy. The public is no longer dependent on mainstream media outlets to interpret these events. Instead, audiences can watch the breakdown of these power structures happen live before their eyes. This cultural shift represents a major challenge for the music industry's elite. The traditional methods used to enforce silence, such as non-disclosure agreements, financial blacklisting, and back-channel intimidation, are losing their effectiveness against self-made media figures who operate outside the traditional studio system. As more independent creators choose transparency over corporate compliance, the elaborate illusions that have protected the industry's dark secrets for generations will continue to fall apart completely. The tense standoff between DJ Akademiks and the leadership of the West Coast music camp serves as a stark reminder of the underlying dangers of the modern entertainment business. What began as a musical competition between two top artists quickly evolved into a serious corporate conflict involving international surveillance, private intelligence assets, and explicit threats of violence. This situation has exposed the lengths to which major entertainment entities will go to protect their financial interests and control public narratives. However, The outcome of this confrontation shows that the balance of power has fundamentally shifted. The traditional methods of intimidation are failing against a new generation of independent media figures who refuse to be silenced by corporate money or street reputation. By bringing these dark tactics into the light, independent commentators are actively dismantling the culture of fear that has governed the hip-hop industry for decades, proving that the truth cannot be bought, sold, or buried. Peace.